up, people? How you doing? I hope you're having a fantastic damn day. Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, we made tactics on this fine YouTube channel, so give it a like, give it a subscribe if you are new. And we'll be breaking down Iraola's 4-2-3-1 formation with AFC Bournemouth. Of course, coming off of a massive win against Newcastle. Things are starting to click in quite nicely. They are very easy on the eye to watch. I will say that. I've been watching a fair amount. I mean, a lot of you guys have been saying Bournemouth, Bournemouth, Bournemouth. So I decided to give them a watch here and there. Obviously, watch a lot of highlights, rewatch some of the games, of course. But yeah, they were very impressive against Newcastle. So I'm going to show you how you can replicate and recreate that set of tactics that they did use in the Newcastle game and games before that, of course, in the game FC24. So if you can, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, please, and let's get on with the video. Okay, so for the tactics going forward, I haven't really made that many changes to it. It's just a 4-2-3-1 wide. And the only thing I really did was I brought those fullbacks just a bit more narrow to the central defenders. And yeah, that's the only real changes I made. So it's one goalkeeper, two centre-backs, two fullbacks, two DMs, one attacking midfielder, two wide midfielders, and then one striker. So with the tactics under Iraola, I've gone with a custom set of tactics. So for the tactical vision, it sets a custom. I couldn't decide whether it was wing play that they were really good at, which they are, or if it was the counter-pressing system with the gegenpress. So I went with a tactical approach because I think it best gets what you're trying to recreate in the game. As for the defensive style, I've set it to balance, so they can look to sometimes drop deep, but more times than not, they will look to maintain their formation and their structure, and try and, you know, stifle the opposition's offense at times with their build-up play and so on. With the team width, it's set to 50, and this does prevent crosses from being whipped into the box. Of course, it's a very balanced approach for their width on the defensive side of things. Of course, it can prevent balls being played through the center of the park, but at the same time, you are looking to try and stifle the opposition with any way possible, whether it's crosses into the box, whether it's playing through the center of the park. You want to try and stop that at all accounts. So that's why 50 does best suit them going forward. So for the depth going forward, I have set it to 60, and this does implement a mid-block approach. And obviously on the offensive side of things, it does help quite a bit because you want to try and have that nice high line at times, or a progressive high line at times. Of course, you are catering, and Iraola is catering to the team that he's got, which has mainly been a low block team and then looks to try and counter. So he is adapting those players and their style of play to his system, which is a very progressive, expansive, offensive-based style of play. But of course, you can't really do that. So he has gone with a bit of a mid-block approach, which does help on the offensive side of things, but more so on the defensive side of things, that you don't leak goals like a sieve. For the offensive side of things, the builder play I have set to balance, which does allow you to maintain your formation, allow you to play those balls in behind if need be, or potentially have a bit more of a faster paced approach with the builder play going forward, or potentially looking to try and slow things down. But like I said earlier, he is looking to try and instill a possession-based style of football. Now, you wouldn't normally associate this with a Premier League lower team. I mean, that is more or less what Bournemouth are going for. They're going for that progressive, expansive style of football. And that's more or less why they did fire Gary O'Neill, because he wasn't really the guy who's going to do that. So yes, you are looking to try and maintain and retain the ball as much as possible. And that does fit nicely with your mid-block at times. So you will look to try and, you know, keep the ball as best as possible and look to try and open the opposition more times than not. Of course, you can look to play slightly faster. I know Bournemouth do progress that ball nice and high up the field very quickly, which does help them. I mean, with Semenyo or the likes of Tavernier, or even the likes of Solanke down the middle, they look to try and progress it, little interchanging passes. What I did note was they like this system where it's ball into feet of the other player, and then they continue with their run, and then they'll lay it off, and then they'll pass it back to the original player. So it's very much this like moving triangle system where they try and, you know, get players all involved, and it does help with these players. I mean, we've seen the likes of Billing. He is very good and technical with the ball at his feet. I mean, Christie as well. All their wingers are very good with those little tight space interchanging passes and positions. So yes, I think the system does work really, really well. For the width, I've gone with the 65. Now, this does allow you to have a bit more of an expansive, wide stretched team. Of course, it is a natural wide formation that you will be playing, so your wingers will have a bit more space on either flank, as well as your fullbacks. They'll also look to try and assist where they can. As for players in the box, I've set it to 4, so they don't overcommit too many players. It's more or less Solanke and maybe a Philip Billing, or potentially a winger that does make it into the box at times, looking to attack those crosses or those cutback opportunities. And they do have more or less quite a few plays in and around the box to either prevent the counter-attack or potentially recycle play and work it into a better position. As for corners and free kicks, as per always, I have set it to 4. So we'll start off with the instructions at the back with the goalkeeper, of course, Neto. He's set to come for crosses and have a balanced approach for his saving outside of the box. You are playing a mid-block, so there's no need for him to be able to run off of his line and claim that ball, as per always. But, of course, he doesn't normally look to do that, and I think neither of their goalkeepers do either way. So they'll look to more or less try and stay on their line as best as possible and then make those saves. And of course, like I say, you aren't playing the highest of lines, you're playing a mid-block, which does allow the likes of Kelly and Zabani or Sensi to be able to have that recovery pace and that recovery run to try and reclaim the ball or potentially apply pressure to the opposition's back line. Sorry, their forward line. As for the back line itself, that's what I was thinking of. Kelly and Zabani, they are set to their base set of instructions. There's no major changes there. Whereas the likes of Kekaresh, who can also be interchanged with Kelly at times, who can play as a left back, which is quite nice if you ask me, if a centre back can, you know, be used in a multifaceted system and structure and lineup and stuff. But nonetheless, as for Kekaresh, he is set to have a balanced attacking approach, so his attacking runs is set to balance. So sometimes looking to be a bit more expansive, add to the attacking line. Other times looking to hang back a bit more and be a bit more sturdy and stable and structured at the back. Normal interceptions are set to be on form, and for his run type, it's set to mix. So sometimes looking to invert, other times looking to create that overlapping run. And then as for his defensive position, you want him to be a bit more aggressive, especially if he's not getting that high up the field, and you want him to try and step up and be more imposing to the opposition. As for the likes of Max Aarons, a new signing, I think he's fitted this system very, very well, if you ask me. But he is set to join the attack, so he will be the fullback making those attacking runs more times, not higher up the field. Aggressive interceptions are set to be on for him, as well as his run type is also set to mix. So sometimes looking to invert into the midfield link-up play, provide those underlapping runs. Other times looking to make those overlapping runs and supply crosses or cutbacks into the attacking third. As for his defensive positioning, just like on the left-hand side, he's also going to be aggressive and step up to the opposition. Moving on into the midfield, we'll start off on the right-hand side with Big Phil Billing. He's set to cut past hands and have a balanced attacking support, so he does look to try and get into the box a fair amount. He does look to try and be that box-to-box player if need be. And I mean, last season he was more times than not found in the attacking midfielder position, and that's more or less what you're trying to have for him in this situation, but at a slightly deeper rate. So he will look to try and support the baller player at a lower end of the field, and as well as try and be a bit more involved in the offensive side of things. Sometimes, like I said earlier, with the players in the box, he will look to be that secondary or advanced player in that attacking third, latching onto crosses and all that good stuff. As for his interceptions, I've set it to normal, and then his positioning freedom is set to stick to position, and his defensive position is set to cover the wing. So if the likes of Max Aarons is out of position, he will look to try and fill in that vacated area. Onto the left-hand side, Lewis Cook, a fantastic player. I was actually quite shocked. He's 26 now. I've been using Lewis Cook since, like, what was it, like FIFA 18 or FIFA 19? I might be getting a bit confused, but he's had a real face in the game for a long, long time. And he's always been one of my go-to players, especially for like RTG career modes and all that good stuff. So a fantastic player, and I like that way that he's been developing under Iraola, to be fair. So he will look to try and be the lowest point in the midfield, look to try and collect the ball off the back line and progress it forward, looking to try and shield that back line at times. And in order to do that, he'll be set to cut pass hands and stay back while attacking. That more or less gets him into that deep lying position. His interceptions is set to normal. We don't really want him stepping out too much or being too aggressive chasing the ball. We want him to maintain his position where need be. And then he's set to be the deep lying playmaker, and this allows him to chauffeur the ball a bit more with those goalkeeper restarts or balling out from the back, collect the ball off of the goalkeeper or the defense, and then progress it forward into the midfield. And then just like with the likes of Billing, he will look to fill in for Kekaresh if he has advanced too far forward. Moving on to the attacking midfielder, and he does have a bit more of a defensive chore to do, where he will look to come back on defense and try and help shield the back line where need be. His support on crosses is set to balance, so he sometimes can drift into those wider regions and whip in crosses, looking to try and facilitate for the forward lines or those players making those deeper runs into the box. Or potentially, he can be that added player in that attacking third, looking to latch on to crosses or cutbacks or anything of that sort to try and score those goals. His positioning freedom is set to free roam, so he will look to try and pop up in those little half spaces in and around the box, or potentially pop up in the box in those little half spaces that are created. And then as for his interceptions, I've gone with it set to normal. Okay, so moving slightly wider into our winger areas, they do have slightly differing roles, and that does have to do with the roles of the fullbacks going forward. But as for Kluivert, he's set to come back on defense and stay wide, creating a lot of the width down the left-hand channel. He's also set to get in behind, looking to consistently make those runs in behind, waiting for that long ball potentially over the top for him, or potentially through the lines of the back line. Normal interceptions are set to be on for him, as well as having a balanced approach for his crossing runs. So there will always be 2 or maybe even 3 players at times in the box, and it does allow for your wingers to potentially make that run or potentially stay on the edge of the area looking to try and facilitate a bit more. So moving on to the right-hand side, the likes of Tavernier, he's set to come back on defense, but this time the real change that you see here is the balance width. So obviously with Aaron's, he does make that inverted run or potentially the overlapping run at times, and you want to try and have that nice tandem with your winger and your fullback. So at times when Aaron's is making that overlapping run, it does allow Tavernier to cut inside a bit more and have a bit more of a free roll on that inside area, playing as an inside forward, getting off shots for himself. Other times, if Aaron's is looking to make that underlapping run, Tavernier will act as a bit more of a winger, you could say, and look to try and hug the touchline and create a bit more of the width in the field. His support runs is set to get in behind, just like on the left-hand side. You want them consistently making those runs in behind, waiting for either that through ball over the top or potentially that line-breaking pass to try and run into that space in behind. And then as for his interceptions, also slightly different to what Cliver does, but he will be set to aggressive, consistently looking to hound the right-hand side of the opposition at times, or potentially the left-hand side. I always get those confused or mixed up, but it will be your right-hand side, the opposition's left-hand side. And then as for the supports on crosses, it will also be set to balance, sometimes looking to facilitate, other times looking to make that charging run into the final third. And speaking of the final third, we have got Solanke, of course, the striker. For his support runs, I would say to having a balance width, so he does look to try and drift into those wider channels at times, help facilitate the play in those wider areas, but more times than not, you do want to making those central runs, attacking those whips and crosses or cutback passes for him to try and score goals with. His attacking runs is set to mix, so he can look to be a bit more of a target man, hold the ball up, potentially even drop off the back line, plays a false 9, link up quite effectively with the midfield or the likes of Christie in certain moments, or potentially make those good runs in behind, like he's trying to press that back line. His interceptions are set to aggressive, so he will try and close down the opposition's back line at times, cutting out passing lanes and so on, or even try and close down the goalkeeper. As for his defensive support, it is set to stay forward, so more times than not, he will look to be your outlet ball, look to try and link up play quite effectively, long ball over the top, link it up quite effectively with either of your wingers or potentially your number 10 at times, and then progress the ball forward. And there you have it, my people. That is my version of Bournemouth AFC's tactics under Iraola. If you have enjoyed this, please, as always, hit that like button. It's a fantastic Monday, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of it. I'm out.